Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 25th episode of Visioncon Spotlight, your in-depth look at the nerds you love. I'm your host, Zach Wilson. But you didn't come here to see me today. You came to meet the woman of the hour. In a world full of uncertainty, we finally have a reliable and trustworthy merchant for all of our anime and video game merch needs. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the one, the only, Amelia Myers of PikaChuuko Parlor. Amelia, how are we doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks, Zach.
I will say it was an interesting setting this interview up because of our large time difference, because it is the crack of dawn for me, but for you, it's getting pretty late, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about 11 p.m. here, so.
For those of you who don't know, Amelia actually lives in Japan, and then whereas I obviously live here in the U.S. But so that kind of actually brings me to my first question, Amelia. So you live in Japan, which I assume kind of had some influence into this job that we're about to talk about. But how did you get kind of into the business of anime and video game merchandise sales?
Yeah, so I think it really started when I first moved here, and I was so excited to be able to actually see the country where all of this merchandise that I've always wanted to have as a kid, like growing up, finally was I was able to find it all here, and I wanted to show a lot of my friends. So a good friend of mine, she would come to Japan and travel a lot, and she specifically asked me, like, hey, could you send me some stuff? Like, I really miss some of the snacks, and I miss like some of the cute stuff from Japan, like Daiso, which is basically like the Japanese dollar store and things like that. And so I sent her some stuff, and she was like, you should maybe talk with some other people and see if they'd also be interested in buying things from you. And I really hadn't considered that before, but I thought it would be a really good idea to initially just start to be able to send things to my friends that I really wanted to like share a little piece of Japan with them, because I wasn't able to go visit them. So I wanted to kind of like share what I had with them. And so my friend told me to make an Instagram page for it, and I did, and then it blew up like way faster than I expected it to. So,
well, and this was pure proof that word of mouth marketing works, because I had no idea. I had known about you, again, like we kind of talked about before we went live, regarding kind of knew each other between other people. But I had no idea you had this business until our mutual friend Felicia brought it up. And then, of course, I saw your products, and then my girlfriend was over my shoulder looking as well. And, of course, at that point, you had made a Gintama post about Gintoki. So after that, we were off to the races. So I do have to ask, what's going on?
Oh, I was just saying, like, that's one of the really nice things about like living here, is that there's a lot of like popular merchandise that comes overseas, with like a lot of the mainstream anime series, but there's a lot of series that's popular in Japan and doesn't have as big of a following in other countries. So it's really cool to be able to share some of that more like niche merchandise with people.
Oh no,
it's hard to find.
I probably still have the marks of when they accidentally grabbed my shoulder with their fresh nails when they saw Toki. But so before we kind of move on, I did want to ask though, the name. The name is very interesting to me, PikaChuuko Parlor. Can you kind of speak on where that came from?
Yeah, so it's kind of like three puns built into one. So I'll break it down and explain it. Basically, the Pikachu part of it, I have been a huge Pokemon fan ever since I was a kid. And a lot of like my previous usernames online had the name Pikachu in them before. So I was like, okay, I'll kind of bring some of my own personal stuff into that. But also the second half of that first part of the name, Chuko in Japanese means secondhand or like used goods. So I kind of thought adding Pikachu and Chuko together would be kind of a cute like way to say like this is secondhand anime merch or secondhand gaming merch. And then the parlor thing was I wanted to have a way to kind of say that it's a store or like a shopping service of some kind. And obviously sounds kind of like a play on Pachinko Parlor, which are very, popular gaming centers here in Japan. So that's kind of how it all pieced together.
It rolls off the tongue real well. Now, and before I continue, guys, I know that she just said a word that might hiccup some of you secondhand. But guys, do not worry. It is far from what you probably are imagining. It is incredible quality, and we'll get to that actually right now. But so with that, I kind of want you to talk about some of the products that people would be able to purchase from you. Maybe, it's kind of, yes, we got figurines, plushies, but anything that people could imagine purchasing from you.
Yeah, sure. So I would say that we've picked up pretty much everything in the realm of like anime and video game and just character merchandise that you can even think of. We found stuff from figures to plushies to things like home goods and stationery and just about everything that you can imagine. A lot of these secondhand prizes actually come from game centers, like the ones that you play crane games and win prizes. And the thing about Japan is that these game centers are so popular that many people will go and just play the crane game machines, win a bunch of these crane game prizes, and then immediately sell them to secondhand stores to make a profit. And so that's why a lot of these like secondhand shops, many of these figures have never even been opened. But they're sold at like a very, very discounted rate because it's technically secondhand, meaning it has been in the person's hand for about 5 seconds and then brought to the shop to sell. So that's why the quality of those items are so good. And people are really, really meticulous and take so much care of their things here in Japan. So even some of the older figures I've noticed are still in like really excellent condition.
And this, I don't know if you can see this because I believe you're on mobile, but I'm sharing the screen with a bunch of merch that you have sold. And we actually we being my girlfriend and I, bought this Sailor Moon that's on the screen right now. And I got to tell you, when it came, I immediately regretted buying it for them. I had wished I had bought it for myself and just like not told them, but oh God.
I'll send you another one. Don't worry about it. I can get like 10 of them.
Appreciate it. But so this next segment, which is kind of getting into what I talked about in the intro, whereas, obviously I like to make it fun and like do grandiose intros, but for this specifically, this is a viable threat and worry because, even myself, purchasing products that originate, from other countries can be a dangerous experience. A case in point. There was a figure that I bought from a local vendor, actually, a vendor that actually has a physical location here in Missouri. Won't name names, but that I thought was, and I just ordered it from him. And I thought, I was so excited. It was a pretty penny too. And I was so excited when it got here. Then, once it turns out and it comes here, it is laughably fake.
That's terrible.
I take it out of its box. A piece already falls apart. The face is clearly a face from a different anime character. And I keep it in my room just as a reminder to be careful. And I'd like to use that as a stark contrast as to one of the things that I actually purchased from you, which is actually probably one of the most beautiful things I own. It is Saber from Fate, one of my favorite series of all time and one of my favorite characters of all time. And I know it's kind of hard to pick up because my webcam leaves some to be desired, ladies and gentlemen, but it is just teeming with detail, and it's clearly, and let's remember, guys, this is a second-hand figure. And it's still in amazing, beautiful condition, and the price is out of this world convenient. But I did want to talk to you a little bit more on this. So what are some of the advantages in buying from you, someone who actually lives in Japan, compared to ordering from a kind of a random website?
Yeah, right. And, I find that this is a really common problem with a lot of, advertised websites, especially a lot that are advertised on social media like Facebook or Instagram. A lot of these places are kind of just like drop shipping type websites that tend to just resell, bootleg figures or other things like that. And since you guys are buying directly from us, we are physically here. We can get the goods that exist in this country. And especially in Japan, especially at these secondhand shops and on those online platforms like Mercari, they will not allow you to sell anything that is bootleg. So there's no room for error in that kind of thing. All of the stuff that we buy is 100% like authentic. So you don't ever have to run the risk of being sent bootleg merch or something. And also something else, there are quite a few other proxy services in Japan. some big websites like that. But the problem with them is a lot of them can't buy from these like peer-to-peer secondhand markets like Mercari, because it's supposed to be used for individuals only. So because of that, they can't like buy certain items from certain sellers. But because it's just me operating on an individual basis, I can just use my own individual account to purchase things for you if you guys want. So essentially, we can get anything for you that ships to a Japanese address from a Japanese website, whatever you guys want. So.
And another advantage that I wanted to spotlight, that compared to you and those other proxy services, is those proxy services, I would argue, do not have as good of a customer service as you do. Because, ladies and gentlemen, let me be honest and let me be clear. I try my best to be a great guy, but sometimes I mess up. And sometimes when I don't understand something, I'll berate you with questions until I do. And Amelia here was so patient with yours truly. All times of the day, I hit her up with questions, and never once was there any ever complaint or anything at all. So I had decided at that point that even if I got a bunch of bootleg merchandise, since this was the first time I'd ordered from you, I was still going to do business with you alone, just for the customer service alone. But thankfully, as you guys saw, there's no bootlegs involved at all. But to round us out, Amelia, before we wrap things up, how can viewers get in contact with you, can check out your merchandise and the updates on what things you're selling, and when they find something that they would like, what is the process that they go about to order it?
Sure. Okay. So I would say that we're most active on our Instagram page, but we also share pretty much the same information to our Facebook page as well. So you can contact us on there. And we will be constantly posting things to our page and to our stories. And if you see anything that you would like, even if I don't give a specific price for it, if you see like, oh, I saw this in the background, like, can you buy me that or whatever, please just like send us a DM and like chat with us about it. We'd be more than happy to help you. Once we get your DM, then we will make you an order form, which you can access using Google Sheets. And then you can kind of watch as your items come in, so that you kind of have an idea of like where the process of your order is. So it kind of works that way.
And it is super easy, guys, super intuitive. Even though I had to ask a million questions, that's just me personally. It really is easy to do and easy to use. So I highly recommend you guys check that out. And with that said,
thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 25 of Visioncon Spotlight. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'm your host, Zach Wilson, but much more importantly, this is my very special guest, Amelia Myers of PikaChuuko Parlor. Make sure to check out all the links down in the description box below, guys. And until next time, guys, always remember that life's better when you have friends to share it with.